Recorded on location in September 2025, I was lucky enough to interview Amy, the paranormal host and historian at Dudley Castle. This interview explores the castle's long and often brutal history, uncovering the surprising connections between Dudley Castle and some of the most colourful and at times bloody periods in British history. We also delve deep into the ghostly encounters and paranormal events which have solidified Dudley Castle as being one of the most haunted locations in Great Britain. Now, this interview ended up being so rich that it's been split into 3 parts. In part 1, we focus on the history and the people who once lived within these walls and walked these beautiful grounds, and we whet your appetite with a few ghostly tales along the way. In part 2, we dive much deeper into the ghosts, legends and strange happenings associated with the castle. And in part 3, Amy takes me out on location around the castle and its grounds, visiting some of the remarkable places where spirits and ghosts are said to roam. So, join me now for part 1 of my return to Dudley Castle. A huge welcome from the shadowed heart of the Black Country where stone remembers and silence speaks. We're honoured to be here at Dudley Castle, an ancient fortress packed with sorrow, legend and lingering spirits. This place is no stranger to the uncanny. The mournful Grey Lady, believed to be Dorothy Beaumont, wanders the chapel ruins, denied her final wishes and bound by grief. The Phantom Cavalier patrols the battlements, his plumed helmet and ghostly presence a relic of the Civil War, and in the quietest corners, the cries of the screaming child echo through time, chilling the bones of even the bravest of souls. I'm here today with Amy Hickman, who has been incredibly kind to help organise this amazing opportunity for the show. Amy is Dudley Castle's resident historian and seasoned paranormal host who has spent many years exploring the secrets of this incredible site. Together, we'll be talking about the castle's dramatic past, the spirits that may still walk its grounds, and what lies behind some of these locked doors, which the public never gets to see. We've also recently launched Haunted UK Fiction, a podcast for original fictional paranormal and supernatural tales, perfect for stories born in places like Dudley Castle, where every stone has a secret. So whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or simply drawn to the mystery, we invite you to listen closely, because here, in the ruins of Dudley Castle, the past never sleeps and the spirits are always listening. Thank you so much for welcoming us here today, Amy. We find ourselves based in the incredibly impressive Undercroft, and with us we have two stone coffins to keep us company. So I'd like to start off by asking you, for those who are unfamiliar with Dudley Castle, can you walk us through its origin story, when it was built, and what was its original purpose?
Okay, so we believe that it was built around 1070, 1071. So you're going back to the Norman Conquest in 1066, and William the Conqueror comes over to England. He conquers England, but not Wales or Scotland. So he puts a steel ring around the country to protect it from invasions. Dudley Castle is part of that chain that was actually put round. Originally, he sort of left Saxons in charge, and the guy that had this area was called Edwin of Mercia, and he left them in charge. As long as they swore fealty to him, they could keep the lands, could keep the grounds. Unfortunately, Edwin got it into his head that he was going to marry one of William the Conqueror's daughters, And basically, William the Conqueror was like, "You're not marrying my daughter."
Right.
So he rebelled. Edwin rebelled against William and was murdered by his own supporters as he was trying to leave for Scotland. Dudley, as the part of Mercia, the grounds were taken and divided up between William's supporters, and he sort of cut this part off, because originally this part of Dudley would have been in Woodsetton and Sedgley, and he cut this end off and gave it to one of his most trusted knights, who was Ansculf of Picardy, who had took part in the Battle of Hastings, and he'd also given him another 80 manors of land throughout the country. And he basically said to Ansculf, "Right, you've got a nice big hill there, build your castle there." And that's what he did.
Right, fantastic. What major historical events have unfolded within or around the castle, and has it ever seen conflict and siege?
It has. Firstly, in the 1100s, part of the anarchy, which is the war between King Stephen and Empress Matilda. Empress Matilda was the daughter of Henry I. He passed away. He'd asked his supporters to swear fealty to her, and they did. Unfortunately, she was a lady. They didn't want a lady on the throne. So his nephew, Stephen of Blois, he actually took the throne.
Right.
And there was a big civil war in the country. Dudley Castle stood for Empress Matilda, as well as most of the houses, most of the big places around the Midlands. They stood for Empress Matilda. King Stephen did come to Dudley with his whole army to attack the castle.
Yeah.
Castle was probably one of the first that was already being refortified into stone in the country. He attacked the castle, couldn't get in, got a bit knocked, went and burnt the town down and stole all the cattle, marched off to Shrewsbury and burnt Shrewsbury Castle down. That's how we know that this was probably being refortified into stone, because if he's burning Shrewsbury, but he couldn't burn this, chances are it was a stone castle by then. And also, there was 2 sieges during the English Civil War. So Dudley Castle was a royalist castle. The barons and the earls have always been quite loyal to the crown. Well, most of them have been quite loyal to the crown. But we stood for Charles I. After the English Civil War, any castle that stood for the royalists had to be knocked down. Dudley was part of that. The gentleman we actually surrendered to was General Brereton. He actually wrote to Cromwell and said, "Dudley Castle's really strong, don't knock it down, we can use it." Cromwell was like, "No, it's got to go." He wrote actually twice, possibly 3 times, to Cromwell to try and save Dudley. But Cromwell was adamant it got to go. We got away with quite a lot because they only took the 2 first towers down, some of the outer walls and a few bits of the gate. After that, it was like, it can never be refortified, and that's still true today. It can't. It's an act of Parliament.
That's fascinating.
It can't be refortified, and he sort of like said, "Well, we'll just leave it," and left it at that. Brereton actually was trying to marry 2 of his daughters into the Ward family who owned the castle. So the theory is, you don't want to knock down your in-law's house if you can help it. So that's sort of that's why he wanted to keep it. But there was 2 sieges. The first siege was alleviated by a troop sent by Charles I, because he thought highly of Dudley Castle. It was actually relieved by a troop of 4,000 soldiers, led by Prince Rupert. And the second siege, we surrendered because the cause was lost, so our troops walked out. But Dudley Castle has never been took in a battle. It's never lost in a battle. It's never been took. It's too strong.
That's fantastic.
Because of the height.
I am going to veer off question for a minute, because I've been chatting away to Amy for quite a while as we've been setting up and in this wonderfully impressive part of the castle. And you mentioned something really fascinating to me about back then, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, it was always the male line that carried power, that carried it through. You were telling me about Dudley was really, really special in that sense because it was more of a female line that brought the power.
Okay, so the ladies of the castle were quite powerful ladies. Gervase Pagnell started it, marrying quite powerful women, the trend of marrying. When he married Isabella Beaumont, who was the daughter of the Earl of Powys. So she was quite a big, powerful figure herself. Yeah. She'd been previously married and he was chosen to be her second husband.
Right.
Okay. I mean, she was really powerful and she would have had links to the crown. Later on, there was Isabella de Chelton who married into the family. She married one of the Suttons. She then took the barony for 37 years and ruled it on her own. She married a second time once her husband had died, but she kept the barony through her son and her grandson, and it was her great-grandson, John Sutton VI, that actually took the barony when she passed away.
So surely back then that was unheard of, really.
Yeah. I mean, when John de Summery's father died, Roger, the lady, his wife Agnes, actually became the Baroness, and because John was underage to take the barony, so she kept it till her son was of age.
Yeah.
And I mean, Isabella just kept it. She was like, nobody's having it. I'm keeping it. It's mine.
Yeah.
And she actually kept it, and her husband actually changed his name to Dudley. He was actually probably one of the Fisher family, which was a big family in the area.
Okay.
But he changed his name to Dudley rather than her change her name.
Again, very unusual.
Yeah, and Dudley, you could inherit it through the female line as well.
Yeah.
So Frances Sutton, who was the granddaughter of Edward Sutton, she inherited the barony. She later married a Ward, and that's how the family come into the Ward family. But it's the women that were powerful.
Wow. I found that just really, really intriguing, especially for that kind of time. We've heard a lot of figures who you've just mentioned, but who were some of the most influential figures in the castle's history?
Well, obviously Anne Scuff was probably one of the most influential figures because he built the first castle.
Okay.
He built a Mott and Bailey castle here, and we've still retained the shape. Coming down through the generations, you've got people like John Sutton VI, who is quite an unrecognised figure. He was a fantastic politician. He was house steward for Henry V. He brought Henry V's body back from France when Henry V died. He was in charge of the Tower. He was Constable of the Tower of London.
Wow.
At the age of 87. He was
87. Again, back
he
then
died.
As well.
He died when he was 87. So he was our longest serving baron. And he's such an underrated figure. Technically, terrible soldier. Every time he went on a battlefield, he got caught or injured. But he knew how to change. He knew how to change when it was, and how to go with the flow. Because he started off as a Lancastrian, became a Yorkist, went back to the Lancastrian, became a Yorkist, and then went back to the Lancastrians.
Right, okay.
He's probably the only figure in history that had a pension from both Richard III and Henry VII. he was a really good politician, but he's an unrecognised figure. And then, of course, the main figure was John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, who sort of put Lady Jane Grey on the throne.
Yeah.
He was probably our most influential baron ever because he was in charge of the country.
Yeah.
He was looking after the country for Edward VI, the boy king, after Henry VIII's death. And obviously, he had a major influence on Dudley. He shouldn't have had the castle, in all honesty, because he sort of conned it out his cousin. He arranged a couple of mortgages on the castle.
Right.
And when his cousin, who was bad with money, said, I can't pay, he was like, right, out you go, I'm taking the castle.
I'm taking the castle?
And he took the castle and he started a programme of rebuilding. because he wanted to make it more of a palace than an actual castle.
Okay.
And he built the bottom end of the castle, which we know today as the Sharrington Range, but he actually called the New Build.
Yeah.
And he was just about to change the chapel upstairs. He started to convert the chapel from a Catholic chapel to a Protestant chapel when he fell from power and was executed in 1553.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But he was probably our most influential baron, and probably one most people will know because they know the story of Lady Jane Grey.
Yeah. You mentioned the Sharrington Range.
Yeah.
So the castle suffered a devastating fire in the 1700s, didn't it? And how much of the original structure remains today? And what do we know about what was lost there?
To be fair, we like I said to you before, before you get to the fire, you had the slighting.
Yeah.
The very first castle, which was the Motte and Bailey, the only thing that remains is the motte, the mound where the keep stands. That's all that's left from there. But that motte would have been 12 feet higher than it is today.
Now, just to cut in there. So the original motte, as I was walking up to the castle, you've got animals grazing on the actual motte of the Motte and Bailey.
That would be perfectly natural.
Wow. Okay.
That would be perfectly natural. There was probably animals. There've been definitely animals in the courtyard because in 1086 we were in the Domesday Book.
Yeah.
This is one of the first castles to be named in the Domesday Book, and we know there was things in the courtyard, and we know there was probably animals.
That's fascinating.
So there would have been animals more than likely grazes on the bank, but when they took the wooden castle down to make the stone castle, to put the stone castle up, they had to take 12 feet off the top of the bank to take the weight of the stone. So if you're thinking Dudley Castle was 12 feet higher than it is really today, a lot of what you see, the slighting took away quite a lot. It took away the first two towers. It took away parts of the Triple Gateway. It took away a building that was next to this one.
Yeah.
Because this one was quite a secretive room, and the doorway where we came in wouldn't have been there. It would have been a straight one wall. You'd have come through the back. There's an arch, would have been an arch in the back, and you'd have come straight down from upstairs, which is the chapel.
Yeah.
This is why this was more than likely the crypt of the castle.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fire basically devastated the Sharrington Range and the chapel upstairs. You can see outside the big chapel window.
Yeah.
When we did the archaeology digs that we did in the 80s and 90s, they did throw in the glass from the window upstairs. Yeah. And it was, he had the coat of arms of the Summery family on it.
Oh, wow.
Because some put one piece more or less back together. They managed to get pieced all back together. It devastated that. It devastated, like I say, the Sharrington Range. The fire did a lot of damage, but it was only confined to down here. It wasn't nothing to do with the keep. But there is quite a lot of the original structure here. There is, because the Sharrington Range would have been built on the same layout as the original Norman manor house that was here, because we know there was a manor house here. Because Gervase Padnell had to knock down his keep in the 1100s because he took part in a rebellion. And for 100 years there was just a manor house on the site. So we know there was a Norman manor house, and one of the walls in the Sharrington Range is a recycled wall, and that's the dates from that original.
Right, okay, so it was repurposed.
It was repurposed.
Okay.
It's in the butchery. So we know that wall is from the original Norman manor house. So although it did do a lot of damage, a lot of the structure is still here.
Okay. So have there been any surprising archaeological finds on the grounds, artefacts, human remains or structures that changed what we know about the castle? I did also, and you addressed this for me a little bit earlier. I also heard a rumour that one of the world's first condoms was discovered here, and it's now in a museum. So is that true?
That is true. There was actually six
condoms
that were found. 4, we believe, are in a museum in Amsterdam.
Okay.
And we believe 2 maybe in with the artefacts that were kept at Himley Hall.
Right, okay.
So, they were from the Civil War era, so the 1640 onwards, and they were pig intestine.
Pig intestine, okay.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
Yeah, it does. So what do we know about what was found? Any archaeological finds? What have we found out?
A lot of animal bone. Believe it or not, a lot of animal bones. The area that was excavated mainly was the keep and to the side, which would have been Dudley Castle. We've got the outer moat, but there was an internal moat.
Right.
So it cut the keep off from the courtyard.
Yeah.
Moat's now been, John Dudley had the moat filled in, but when they did it, because of how wet it actually protected a lot of the artefacts that were found. So mostly it was animal bone, so a lot of fallow deer. And then when they did DNA testing on the fallow deer bones, they found that the hours came from the Baltics. Because what happened was fallow deer were practically extinct in this country.
Right,
the Saxons ate them all.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. The Normans reintroduced them, but they brought them from different parts of the country. And when we, like I say, ours mainly come from the Balkans.
Again, fascinating.
So there were a lot of animal bones. They did find a beautiful tooth comb, and that would have been from the Tudor era.
Right, okay.
And they found rings and jewellery, battle spurs, things like that.
Yeah.
No bodies, unfortunately.
Right.
I have heard, though, or recently found out while doing some research, that in the 1920s there was an archaeology dig done, and some of the artefacts were shown as part of a fair that they had in the castle grounds.
Yeah.
And part of that fair would have been they showed a skull of a Cavalier soldier, and in that skull was found in the castle.
Right,
and that's recorded in one of the British News Archive papers, which was a fantastic find. Unfortunately, I can't find the archaeology report.
Right, okay.
Which is what I'm trying to do at the moment.
Yeah. Again, being a historian, being rooted in the history of not only the castle but Dudley as well. Is there a particular period in this castle's history that you find especially fascinating?
I just think it's all fascinating. I mean, you're going from, because we think one of the 2 reasons the castle was actually built here was there was possibly something here already.
Okay.
So a tall hill like this, and it is in line with other hill forts. So there could have been a hill fort here, and it was just so easy just to throw the castle up.
Yeah.
But I just find it all really, I mean, I said to you earlier, think of who's walked across that courtyard.
Yeah, and you reeled off a list of people
Henry
as well.
II, you've got Henry II, you've got Edward III, you've got Isabella, the she-wolf of France, you've got Roger Mortimer, her lover, you've got John Dudley, you've got Elizabeth I, possibly Robert Dudley, quite possibly the Earl of Essex was here, because he was the stepson of Robert Dudley.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got all these figures that have walked that courtyard.
Yeah.
And that's not even thinking about John de Sumray, who was a Baron of Dudley. He was actually a close friend of Edward III.
Yeah.
I mean, Edward II, sorry. And he was, I mean, this was his castle. He completed the keep and everything.
Yeah.
Just thinking of the people that have walked through that courtyard is just it blows my mind. And if these stones could actually talk, what they could tell you is unbelievable.
Well, we're going to get into about we're going to get into about how these stones could talk, the things that these stones have possibly seen in the past. Another fascinating thing that you mentioned again. As I say, Amy and myself we were chatting away for quite a while. And again, something else that you mentioned that was really interesting was, as I was saying, as I was driving up here, I mentioned the fact of trying to imagine them, none of the houses, none of these buildings, all of the trees that would have been not here, that would have been hundreds of years old, these woodlands and forests that would have probably surrounded this. And I'll mention to you about, I would have loved to have known how far away I would have been driving up to the castle, how far away they could have seen me. And you mentioned that this wasn't even the highest hill anyway.
No,
but that comes back to what you said about a fascinating reason that I'm going to ask Amy to explain, as even though it wasn't the highest hill, why it was chosen, because the highest hill was somewhere else.
Yeah, the highest hill is probably Sedgley Beacon.
Okay.
Out of the two, because the two hills would have been next to each other.
Yeah.
And William the Conqueror kept that side. He kept Sedgley, or Seggersley as it was called.
Okay.
And he said, right, there you go, build your castle on that hill. But the reason possibly was there's a water source. We've got the water source. So underneath here, we're a limestone ridge, basically.
Yeah.
The castle's a limestone ridge. So we've got a lot of underground springs, even at this height, and the lime will push the water up. So the well we've got today is still full. It's still used. We still use it to fill the penguins and the sea lions enclosures up.
I love this.
So, it's 108 foot deep, and about 70 foot wide.
Yeah.
That well is. There is a rumour that there's a second well on the keep. We've never found it, but that could have dated to the original Mott and Bailey Castle.
Yeah.
But definitely that was possibly the main reason that the castle was built on this hill and not Beacon.
Yeah. You also mentioned about the well is capped under a blue plate or something like that. And when it was discovered, the discovery of it?
I mean, the grounds were left to overgrow, but people used to let their sheep and the cows and the horses graze up here. And the story goes that the well was rediscovered in the 1800s when a horse fell through.
Yeah.
Earl of Dudley sent some men up. They got the horse out. Luckily, it survived.
Yeah.
But they rediscovered the well.
Yeah, that's amazing. A horse to fall around 100 feet and survive.
Yeah.
And drag the horse out.
I mean, there's lots of little stories like that about the castle. I mean, there is in the Triple Gate. Unfortunately, today you can't see it because of the scaffolding we've got up. But there is a murder hole.
Right.
In the keep, which is filled in. And it's a weird one because it's in the middle of the gate. Usually your murder holes are over your portcullises.
Yeah.
But this one's right in the middle. And they say it was filled in because a horse fell through it. Now, what is a horse doing on a roof? That's what I'd like to know. But apparently that's a local legend that the horse fell through it.
Would you explain what a murder hole is?
A murder hole is something you can drop nasty things on your... See, warfare back then.
Yeah.
Okay. Our gate was a triple gated. So you had your drawbridge.
Yeah.
Then you had a portcullis, and then you had a second portcullis at the back, both backed up by two big oak doors. But what you might find if you attack the castle is the drawbridge is down and the portcullis is open. And then when you make a play for the courtyard, they drop the portcullis.
Yeah.
Turn round to run out, they'll drop the second portcullis, so you're basically trapped.
Okay.
Then you can be, things can be thrown down at you. Things like rocks and stones.
Okay.
That can shoot arrows down it.
You're going to come out with something.
Sewage.
Oh, okay.
And dead animal parts or dead bodies. And that's to cause infection.
Yeah.
Because if you fought your way, you walked up that hill this morning.
Yeah.
You fought your way up that hill, you're going to have the odd scratch, the odd graze. You get something like sewage or rotten flesh into a cut.
Yeah.
It's going to cause It's going to cause infections and things like that. And then basically they'd open the gate and let you go back to your village, and that's the Baron of Dudley going, come on then, come and try it. This is what's going to happen.
A warning sign. A warning sign to anybody that's going to...
So a murder hole literally was used to drop things on people.
Right, okay.
And that, like I say, they'd capture in the gate.
Yeah, fascinating. How has the local community's relationship with this castle changed over time, from a stronghold to a ruin to a tourist attraction as well? Because again, we spoke briefly about it turning into a zoo, and also the paranormal hotspots around here. How do you think the community has reacted over time to this?
I mean, as a stronghold, the castle would have ruled the town. 100% would have ruled. Baron of Dudley would have ruled the town. John de Sumray, who's coughing when sat next to, I mean, he ruled with an iron rod, and he got a really bad reputation, was reported by the locals to the king for ruling this area as a king. He was in charge and he meant no bones about it. He gets a really bad rep, does John, because of it. But he's a man of his time. He was in charge, and he wanted the money to make the castle bigger and better and grander. Coming down to a ruin, it was seen as a sort of romantic ruin. So lots of courting couples would have come up here doing courting couple things. And then the Earl of Dudley needed a way to provide a lasting funding stream. And the Earl of Dudley at the time was also very into exotic animals. He also was at London Zoo. He was on the board of trustees at London Zoo, I believe. And also on the board of trustees was a man called Frank Cooper, who owned a small collection of exotics down in Oxford.
Right, okay.
And the two of them got together. Also, who happened to be at London at the time was a guy called Berthold Lebetkin, who was in charge of the Tecton Group. And this was a guy who was bringing in innovations with buildings and architecture. And he used the first pre-stressed concrete buildings. He was doing a lot of enclosures at London. So the three of them got together. I've got the grounds, I've got the animals, I've got the knowledge. And they came up with putting the zoo, which was a perfectly natural thing to do, because the relationship between zoos and castles has been for generations. The first zoo in this country was at the Tower of London. It was the Royal Menagerie, because foreign dignitaries would gift animals to others. And they were kept at the Tower of London until the 1800s, when the Duke of Wellington, who was constable at the Tower, got annoyed because people were getting bitten by things like baboons that were left to scarp around. And he was like, right, we're going to get rid of the animals out of the Tower. Moved them to Hyde Park, which later became London Zoo, which was the first zoo in the country.
That is fascinating.
So there is a natural affinity between zoos and castles. A lot of people don't think this. A lot of people are like, well, for God's sake, putting a zoo around. But it's a perfectly natural thing to do. And the Earl of Dudley wanted to provide that lasting funding stream for the upkeep of the castle.
I mean, the other thing as well with the zoos, I've visited many stately homes. And again, a lot of these paintings in stately homes, you will have, you know, the Earl or the Baron or something surrounded by these exotic animals. And it was kind of a business card in a sense of, look where I've visited.
Well, look where I've been.
Look where I've been.
The Earl of Dudley was well known for his fairness. The third Earl, I should say, was known. I mean, he was very close to the royals as well. I mean, the Duke of Kent was here. The Duke and Duchess of Kent. I mean, they were at Himley Hall being hosted by the Earls of Dudley for their honeymoon. You know, there was a close connection. And of course, the affinity between royals and exotic animals, he'd know that, the third Earl. And it'd be a no-brainer. you've got this space, you want to create something that's going to provide that lasting funding stream. The zoo's 90 years old in 2 years' time.
Wow.
Dudley Zoo is 90 years old in 2 years' time. It's providing that lasting.
Yeah, you mentioned the architecture of a lot of the enclosures for the animals, and it is still quite futuristic. It's still got, you know, those
the theory is it's very Art Deco.
Yes.
The Tectons are very. I'm not a big fan, I'll be honest, of Art Deco at all, but I can appreciate what they are.
Yeah.
And if you we've got the largest connection and they are grade 1 star listed.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't look at them wrong, really. The only thing higher is this.
Yeah.
Is the castle. But they are of their time.
Yeah.
You know, they are. And now, husbandry guidelines have changed for the animals. Certain things we need to do. Those enclosures from 37 are not going to be
suitable and adequate
for that animal. So today, our keepers are really, really good at looking at an enclosure and going, right, that's the polar bear pit. We could put a polar bear in there. What can we put in here? Arctic foxes. Let's do Arctic foxes. And that's what we've done.
Yeah.
And that's what the keepers are and the zoo in general are very good at doing, is looking at something and taking it and going, well, can't do that now. Let's, you know. And we Dudley Zoo does get slated for its condition, if you like, but people don't realise that those 12 listed buildings are some of the most important buildings in the country.
And they've got to stay.
And they've got that listing on them. If you know Dudley Zoo, we've got something called the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
The ballroom, the restaurant. We've also got the Discovery Centre, and we've got the Roundhouse, which was the old birdhouse. If you put the Queen Mary on top of the Discovery Centre, and then on top of that put the Roundhouse, it's a perfect replica of the Queen Mary ship from the 1930s.
Right, okay. Yeah, I did not know that.
That's why,
Yeah.
That's why the Queen Mary's called the Queen Mary. Not a lot of people realise that that's why the Queen Mary's called the Queen Mary.
Yeah, I didn't actually.
Yeah.
So it just goes to prove, though, in a sense that, Dudley Castle and the zoo, they've had to adapt a hell of a lot over the last 100 years, certainly.
I mean, 90 years.
Yeah.
What you could do in 1937 when the zoo opened, you can't do today.
No.
You know, some of the animals that were housed here, you wouldn't even dream of housing them here now. Because, to be fair, it's 40 acres. The Dudley Zoo is 40 acres. Compared to some zoos, it's a small site.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And we just have to adapt and change and do things a different way.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's people's, whether you like them or not, the buildings, we are impeded by them.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Because of what they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing to have them. I mean, it is a good thing to have them. I'm not saying that, but they are impeded. The keepers are impeded on what we can actually do and build. I mean, our keepers are fantastic at looking at things, and they think out the box.
Yeah, it's a testament. It's a testament to them, isn't it? It's a testament to them. It's a testament to how the place is run as well. Because, as I say, you're constantly having to adapt.
Yeah.
Shall we talk paranormal?
Yes.
Okay. So talking about this location being a paranormal hotspot. Now, Dudley Castle has earned a reputation as being one of the most haunted places in Britain. When did reports of activity first begin to surface on this site?
So the very first report was from the 1870s. Okay. And that was recorded by a local ghost hunter, ghost writer, an avid ghost hunter. His name was Harry Bentham.
Yeah.
And he recorded a conversation he had with a guide. Now, we're going back before the zoo was here.
Okay.
So there would have been a castle keeper, and it was probably him he was talking to.
Yeah.
And he recorded that the actual statement goes, I was sitting at the bottom of the keep talking to two visitors when we saw two figures come down the keep, go to the left-hand side, dressed in 16th or 17th century clothing.
Okay.
Man had a tall hat and a crooked stick. Went round to the side. I went up. The guide went up, and they disappeared. And couldn't find anyone.
Okay.
That was the first recorded ghost sighting. That image of the two people was seen again in the 1930s.
Right, okay. So it's a repeat sighting.
It was a repeated sighting.
What types of hauntings are most frequently reported here? And are we talking full apparitions, which we've just spoke about full apparitions. So we're talking sounds, cold spots, something more?
All of them.
I
think one of my favourite stories, apart from the feet in the coffin, was actually it was recorded in May 1978. 4 electricians working overnight in the courtyard refused to come back on site because they saw a procession of monks walking through the courtyard.
In 1978?
Yeah, in 1978. That's one of my favourite recordings of a ghost sighting.
That is fascinating. They were working overnight.
They were working overnight.
And
they were laying some cables, apparently, and they saw a procession of monks, and they refused to come back on site. Now, obviously, Dudley's very close to Dudley Priory. Dudley Castle's very close. It's about 150 yards down the road.
Yeah.
And the monks would have been here regularly because they'd have took the services in the chapel above us. And there has been lots of reported sightings. 1951, somebody reported seeing a figure in the chapel window upstairs.
Right.
They saw a figure. If you go outside,
There aren't.
you can't access that part of the castle because it's of the fire, the damage the fire done. But they saw that figure that was in 1951. There's been repeated sightings as recently as about 2016 maybe, when a ghost group come on, 2 people taking photos on the steps that lead up to the castle. They were taking photos. At the top, when they saw the photos, at the top there was a hooded figure in the one corner.
Wow.
And they think that, and he does look like he's got a robe on, so it does look like a monk.
Yeah. Right. Who or what are the most well-known spirits said to linger here? And can you tell us the story of the Grey Lady?
She's the most famous, isn't she? Let's face it. Dorothy Beaumont, who we believe it's Dorothy Beaumont. Dorothy Beaumont, what I love about her is we've got records of that lady being here at the castle. There is surviving letters between Brereton and Leveson, Leveson at the castle. Brereton was sieging it, talking about her death, basically, which is fantastic. Basically, she had a daughter, a baby daughter, and the story goes the daughter it was during the English Civil War. She was married to the second in command of the forces here, a guy called John Beaumont. Around September 1644, she gave birth to a daughter. Daughter was christened Frances, but died, and the story goes she died a few days after birth.
Yeah.
Baby's body was removed from the castle and buried at one of the local churches, which is St Edmunds, which is over the road. A few weeks after that event took place, the soldiers here at the castle actually got wind that the parliamentarians were going to start a siege.
Right.
They were going to attack the castle and start a siege. So as one act of defiance, they went out, and anywhere where you could garrison soldiers, they knocked it down. That church was one of the places they knocked down. The church that's there today is from the 1700s.
Okay.
So they knocked the church down. Of course, when they knocked the church down, they destroyed the graves, including the babies. And he said Dorothy had quite the breakdown. She used to wander the castle. She actually thought the kid was still alive, but it was being kept away from her. And she searched time and time again, looking for a daughter.
Yeah.
Obviously, daughter she got sick. Hygiene wasn't the best. She got sick herself. By the following April, it was more or less known she was going to pass away. She made a dying wish, and that dying wish was to be buried with her daughter. She'd accepted the death, but she wanted to be buried with her daughter.
Yeah.
She also asked her husband to attend a funeral. Baby dies, Dorothy dies on the 26th of April, and a message is sent into town. Message is being replied to, carried by what they call a drummer.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people think of drummer boys.
Okay.
It's a well-known story here, the drummer boy.
Yeah.
Okay, these wouldn't be boys. They would be men. They'd be your age.
Okay.
You'd be given a message, and banging the drum should have called for a ceasefire between the two sides.
Wow.
Now, when I've done my history research, it wasn't one soldier that was shot, it was two. As they made their way up the track, where those steps are to the archway, a bullet hit them. Yeah. And we don't know from which side.
Okay.
We don't know if it come from our side, come from their side. But banging that drum should have called for a truce between the two sides.
Yeah.
So Brereton, being the all-powerful general he was at the time, writ another letter, and he said, right, we were going to allow you to have your funeral.
Yeah.
We're not going to allow that now. You've shot two of our soldiers under a drum of truce. This is what we're going to do. We've dug you an hole in the churchyard at the top of the tower, and you've got 20 minutes to get up there, get her buried, and get back into the castle.
Wow, okay.
Any of your soldiers out after 20 minutes, that's
fair
it.
Game.
Done. Oh, by the way, husband's second in command of the castle. If he comes out, we'll shoot him on sight. So he wasn't allowed to the castle.
So he couldn't go.
To the funeral, sorry. 6 soldiers went out, 6 soldiers got her up there, 6 soldiers got her buried, and 6 soldiers got back in this castle within 20 minutes.
Wow, okay.
Now, you know yourself, you're a local lad, walk from here to the top of the tower, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's a good pace.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that, 6 of you running a body up the middle of the high street, and very occasionally they'll have a festival in Dudley and they will run a coffin up the middle of the high street, and that's why it's retracing.
That's why it's done?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So, it's said that because she never got her 2 dying wishes, she was never buried with her daughter. She couldn't be because the grave was lost and destroyed.
Yeah.
And her husband didn't attend the funeral, that she is back here and she's searching around for her daughter.
Okay.
And she's seen in every part of the castle. The most famous sighting of her, though, was in 2014, when a lady was taking pictures from the top of the keep.
Okay. I think
You've probably seen that. It's in the doorway of the Sharrington Range, and there's a figure.
That's a very famous photo.
Yeah. That's her most famous, a recent most famous sighting.
Yeah.
But she's seen all over. She's seen in every part of the castle. But as I said to you, we will talk about the stone tape.
Yeah.
I think she's part of the stone tape.
That's where we're going to leave things for part 1 of my interview with Amy, the paranormal host and historian at Dudley Castle. In part 2, we move away from the wider history and into much darker territory, diving deeper into the ghosts, legends and strange happenings that have been reported here over the years. From recurring apparitions to experiences that still defy explanation, things are about to get a lot more unsettling. So make sure you tune in and join me for part 2, where the stories become harder to explain and the past refuses to stay silent.